Greetings from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Thursday, February 22, 2024. Baby Chick 4 is almost ready to float. As you can see, Rick has finished bunging the sides, all 4,000 of them. Each bung was cut with bung cutters here using old mahogany that we keep around, and both sides on the top sides are ready to be sanded fair, and we have some final finish sanding like right here. Chine plank needs to be put on, the chine rail needs to be put on, and on starboard all the bottom planks are on. She's ready for sanding and CPES. And I'll just hand it over to Rick so he can talk you through how he got to this point today.
Okay, we had to start with the keel. With our first plank, we try to find the longest plank we can to start out with. And then we mark each one of them, like that. We start 1 and then 2, so forth. And we cut all of our planks, got them all ready. And then we take them all back off again. And then we have to CPES the back side, 4 coats. Let them dry. And then I started putting them on the beginning of the week, or last week, I think it was.
That was last week, yep.
Last week, yeah. And as you can see, this side is mostly finished. We got one more plank here put on. And then after we get that done, then we've got to line it and sand it, get it down, and then we're going to use a 3M filler, fill all the old bung holes there. Sand that down fair with lines again. We'll line it up, sand it down so it's nice and flat. And then it'll be ready for the
CPES and
the CPES, and then after that we'll be using
the 2000E, Intelux 2000E barrier coats. We'll be putting 5 coats on.
and then our bottom paint.
And we're still in a quandary on bottom paint. I've seen these S-25s, and actually something interesting that Matt Smith, Woody Boater's Matt Smith shared. Chris Craft actually made 3 generations of this model. There was a pre-war model, and that hull is quite different, even though it is also 25 feet long. And I believe the last of that run was in 1940. And then there was an intermediate few boats made right after World War II. And Matt's We Catch 'em is one of those. Baby Chick 4 is the 3rd generation. And she was built in 1947. The last of these Sportsmen was built in 1950. And as you see, this bottom, which is constructed using 3/8 Meranti mahogany. We use the Meranti because this mahogany, which I'd never use on hull sides because the grain is awful, but it is hard as rock. And you get it down, and once we're finished, I challenge you to deflect any part of this bottom. Once we've got all that done, we need to do the planking on the transom, and these were planks that we could not save, if you remember. But we have, fortunately, an inventory of old growth mahogany that will be used for the rough material from which we will resaw and then saw out our bottom planks. We've gone through 3 cases of 3M 5200. little bit better, almost 4 cases, 12 tubes to a case. So we're pushing 50, 55 tubes of the white 3M 5200, and I can't even guess, probably a couple thousand screws.
Oh, yeah.
And
I filled the trays up twice already.
you have.
Yeah.
And then we will fill all the countersinks. I read an interesting article recently. I believe it was in the Sunnyland newsletter about cutting countersinks. Maybe that's not the right place, but there are several ways of doing it. In my mind, the toughest way is the one that evidently many people use, which is to drill twice. You first drill a pilot hole, and then you use a standard drill bit to drill a 3/8 countersink hole. We use pilot drills, countersink drills that include both the pilot drill and the countersink cutter. We get really uniform countersinks this way. We get uniform depth. So it's up to you. You can do it either way. Now, once we get the chine plank on, and it will run all the way to this edge. This model had a chine frame piece that runs the entire length of the boat. And these are not the splash rails. The splash rails will be installed further up the hull. So Rick's got a couple of more to do, one on starboard and 1, 2, 3 on port. Probably 4. I think this one is 2 pieces. All right. And by this time next week, if we wanted to, we could probably drop her in the water and she'd float. But we've got her upside down, nice and warm, 40% humidity in the room. So we'll just keep on working, but a week from now, she should look very, very different than she does now. So thanks to Rick for hours and hours and days and weeks to get to this point. So that's our update on Baby Chick 4, our 1947 S-25 Sportsman. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boat Works.